I am now on to the step of making the timber truss, and this is what it is. If you can see, you have the rafter that comes down, rafter that comes down, you have the beam that comes across here, and I don't know, I'm going to call this the post, and then these two, the diagonal supports. So what I'm doing is I'm using a 6x6 for the bottom beam, a 6x6 for the top rafters, then I'm going to change to a 4x6 for the center post, and then 4x4s for the diagonal supports. So the 4x6 will be flush right here with the 6x6, but it'll be narrower to keep these pockets all larger. And then the 4x4s will be recessed back from the face. So you have a 5.5 inch to a 3.5 inch, so it's going to be a 1 inch step back on both sides. I think it'll give it a good detail. I decided to go with 4x6 and 4x4 and 4x4 here. Again, it's really just to keep these pocket areas nice and open, because if I went with a 6x6, it widens this up. It widens that up quite a bit, so it reduces this pocket, and then this also widens up. So really, if I went with 6x6s of both of these, I'm losing an inch here and a hinge here. So it's not just one side, it's both sides. So it makes this pocket a lot smaller. So that's why I'm going with 4x6. And also on these with the 4x4s, I really think it'll look good having that, just that little bit of a step back. So what I plan on doing is down here, I'm going to have this mortised in to the 6x6. It's going to have a rabbet on all edges, and it's going to mortise in. I'm undecided on what size yet, but I'll figure that all out. Over here, this is going to be mortised in as well. Probably something like this. Going to be mortised in like that. So this goes in, and these are solid. Again, that's going to be concealed. That'll happen the same over here, where this comes down. There you have our tenon. And all this is the grain, and that's concealed. That's going to be a mortise and tenon. Then up here, I'm thinking these are going to be, I might attempt to dovetail mortise them into this post. I might attempt to, otherwise they'll just be square mortised in. And then these right here, I'm undecided. I don't know if I'm going to mortise these in right here and mortise in right here. Down here, I don't know, there might be just too much going on. I might not try mortising it. I might just end up doing a butt joint. I'll figure that out. Alright, so here is the lumber that we're going to be using. Here's one 6x6. Here's a scrap of 4x6 that I already had. There is two pieces of 4x4 that I already had. And then our two rafters that are 6x6s. Before I go much further, I'm probably just going to rough size these all to length, because carrying around a 8-foot 6x6 is a little extra weight than what's needed when the rafters are probably only about 5, maybe 5.5 foot at most. So I can cut a couple feet off of those to make them lighter. The bottom beam is 94 inches, I think. I'll have to measure again. I have it all written down, but yeah. So that's going to be roughly full size. But again, if I can cut everything else down, I'm not dealing with quite as much weight when I'm moving stuff around. There we have it. Much more manageable pieces. My triangular or diagonal supports are 24 inches long. My center post is 36 inches long. Still, my bottom beam is full 96. Again, it's going to get cut to like 94 or something like that. And then my rafters, these were the big ones, these are cut down to 5 foot because I don't need to carry around an extra 3 foot. Those get heavy. Now I'm going to start figuring out, I'm going to work on the bottom beam first, getting it cut to length, and then also positioning the center post and doing the mortise for the center post into the bottom beam. I'm going to do that one first, and from there I'll figure out the rafters to the post and the rafters to the beam. All right. Alright, so I got my tenon done on this. That's the easy end. Now I have to figure out, did I turn it around? Right here. I have to figure out how I'm going to mortise this in. I do have a square chisel mortiser, but I don't believe under mine I can fit the 5.5 inches, so I'm going to have to check that. If I can't, then what I think I'm going to end up doing is clear off the drill press and use the drill press and pre-drill some holes and then square it up with the chisel. Let's see. But yeah, so here's the hollow chisel mortiser. I don't know how much I can move this plate down to clear the chisel itself. Also, I have to put in a bigger chisel for it, so I'm going to check that out. This would be the easier and better option rather than the drill press, but if I can't use it, I can't use it. So what I've done here is I traced my 4x6 right here and right here, and then I cut the tenon and I traced that right here, right here, right here, and on the back side over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill in through this, not out here because that's the lip or the shelf of the tenon. So I'm going to drill in here, and then afterwards I'll clean it up with a chisel. I am going to drill, I have the drill bit set to 2 7/8 deep, but I'm only going to go about 2 3/4 deep. I don't have any longer bits of this size, but I don't want, the tenon itself is only 2 5/8, so I don't need to go much more. But yeah, I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod and I'm going to drill this. So it might be time for a new GoPro because I just had the camera on and it shut off. been doing it a lot lately. So I've already drilled about 3/4 of the mortise. What I'm doing is boring out the excess, staying away from the line. After I get it all drilled out, I'll go back with a chisel to the line, and then I'll fit it to the mortise. I don't want to overdo it because I do want a snug fit in the mortise. I don't want a loose fit. Still got 1 or 2 more holes to drill, but I wanted to clear this out some. That might be the last. The rest I can get with the chisel. Let's just double check. Yeah, I don't want to do any more with the drill. But I'm going to leave this drill bit set up because the other mortises, I'm probably going to have to do the same because they don't fit under the square mortise there. Alright. What I'm trying out here is something that I've never actually tried before, but I'm told it helps keep your mortises square in their depth. You clamp a nice square board, nice flat square board, to your line, and you use that as a gauge of where to hold your chisel. So you're not cutting in like this, you're not cutting out like that. So you hold it as a gauge. So let's see how this goes. I gotta remove the bulk first, which I might need to get my beater chisel before I get this one. Let's do that. Not gonna get a beater yet. See how the smaller one does. A little bit better. Of course, I haven't sharpened my chisels in a while. And I'm still gonna need the beater. I call this one a beater because it has the metal end for it, so you're not destroying the handle. It's also one that if it gets beat up, I don't really care. Yeah, like this, it's not a very sharp chisel, so I'm actually curving off the wood. is why the hollow chisel mortiser is a little better, because you'd have much less to deal with doing this. I might have to reconfigure my clamps. These handles are getting in my way. So let's hold on. Let's try this, see if it's a little better. Well, I can get my hand at it better. I don't know, I think it's just proven to be more of a nuisance. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Well, this is going to take a while, so I'm going to put you guys on time lapse. Alright, one joint down, bunch more to go. I gave up on the old school way, realized I'm not good at chisel work. I can do what I can, but I gave up on it. So I used the router and flush trimmed around the mortise, sorry. Flush trimmed around that. I cleaned up the top 1/4 inch with the chisel, and then I used the router and just did all around it, and then I had to chisel out the corners. So now the next step is I have to lay out the rafters. They're going to go from the tip to here up to somewhere up there, somewhere around here. This is actually going to get 2 peaks cut on it. So actually maybe I do that first. I'll figure out the angles on this and then I'll do the rafters. Yeah. Alright, so I have the template back up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from that tip right here. I'm going to hold it on the one right there, and then I'm going to come down the other end. What it is there. It measures 30 3/8 heavy a 32nd. So we want to deduct a 1, so that's 29 3/8, and I do a plus, meaning heavy. That's to the tip. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my angle finder and I'm going to figure out what this angle is. Okay, so let's figure this out. Right there. So that is a, hold on, I just moved. Yep, just confirm. 90, 80, 70, 60, 56.5 degrees. Yep. So that's 55, 56 and a half. 56.5 degrees. So I'm going to take that out, and then I'm going to measure my length to the tip, and then I'm going to figure out my 56.5 degrees, and I'll cut it on the chop saw. So I have to deviate from my drawing a little because I just remembered that I have a ridge sitting on top of here. So I actually need to make 1.5 inches flat across here, and then have the rafters and everything start below it. So in turn, what I'm going to do is right on here, this is how I had it laid out prior. What I have to do is I have to start my 1.5 inches flat down here, and then have the angle go down, because my rafters actually need to be able to sit flush with this angle on top, not on bottom. Well, sorry, the truss rafters need to sit flush on bottom. The roof rafters need to sit flush on top. So I won't be meeting right here to a point. I'll actually be meeting at 1.5 inches flat. There we go. We have our angles here and here. I actually went 1 7/8 of a flat because I'm going to use an LVL for a ridge instead. But that's the flat I'm talking about. Now I just got to incorporate the rafter to there and the rafter to there. So I've been thinking about it a little. Because the length of this truss, and also just the sheer size of this timber and the rafters that I'm going to be using for it, I really don't think that I actually need to have the mortises for the rafters to go into here and the dovetails going into here. I think because the force of it is basically just going to be sitting as if it's on a wall plate right here and sitting against a ridge right here. Now, this timber, again, is plenty strong enough to be carrying the loaded ridge weight, so that'll be fine. Same with this timber, is plenty strong enough. So I think the mortising and tenon might just be a little overkill. Now, I'm always one for overkill is the only type of kill, but I think it's just too much work for this one. I'm making it overcomplicated for what it really needs to be. So I'm just going to do a standard butt joint right here, a standard butt joint up there, and then on the diagonal cross pieces that go in here. So what I'm talking about is this right here, that joint, a butt joint, this joint, a butt joint, and then this joint, a butt joint. I'm still not disagreeing that this being a mortise helps because it just centers everything. It does give it extra strength, but I think I'm overdoing it, overthinking it by trying to do all the other joints. So, yeah, I'm going to get on to actually cutting these rafters. Perfect. The rest of my cuts were good, but this one, I got a little bit of a lip right there, but it goes down to perfectly flush again. So I'm going to trim that off. Alright, there. Perfectly flush. Much easier to do the first time, your first cut, but it's okay. Just pay attention. Alright, now let's get these both set up in here. I don't want to screw them in or bolt them in or anything yet. I want to just kind of clamp them in place so I can get the diagonal supports traced out. Alright, well, I have the cross supports or diagonal supports cut and sized. You could see I placed one in here and I ended up knocking the clamp off. I dropped that on my hand, so I'm not going to really try and struggle with it right now. But that's kind of what it's like. I'm going to start with this rafter right here. And I'm going to bolt this side in. Once I get that bolted in, I'm going to put the cross support in here, so I don't have to fight it and force it. Once I get that in positioned, I'm going to bolt this closed right here. And then once I get that bolted closed, I'll bolt through here into that diagonal support. And my theory is because I cut the supports ever so slightly long for right here. Ooh, maybe I should do that different. Maybe I don't bolt that one yet. I'm going to bolt this first. That way, this diagonal support is like a 32nd, maybe a 16th long. I'm going to bolt through here, but over here is going to essentially be floating. When I bolt this down, it's going to sandwich the whole thing together. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so let's get working on that. All right, well there we have it, our timber truss. This is not going to be a light one. This is going to be a heavy one. Going to hang it up If weather goes well, gonna hang it up tomorrow. But if it's raining and whatnot, we're not gonna be working with it. Probably end up using the jeb and lifting it up from right here with a sling. Probably, not sure. We'll figure it out though. Yeah. It looks good. Again, I don't know if this is going to be a video of its own or if I'm going to include it with setting this truss. All depends on how long it is. If this is a video of its own, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Alright, see you later.